Welcome, everyone, to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. We're approaching a new moon, and we're going to have my favorite astrologer, Jyoti Wind, share a bit about it. Jyoti, welcome.
Thank you, Lauren. Well, we have a new moon in Leo coming up on Sunday, August 4th at 5:13 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And it's a new cycle. Whenever you have a new moon, it's a new cycle. And a new moon in Leo can be a new cycle in leadership. It can be a new cycle in uh, your own sense of uh, where you are, what your leadership capacities are. Um, Leo is very outgoing and radiative. It's a fire sign, so it's very generous of spirit usually, and so Leo energy likes to share what it knows. It likes to gather knowledge and know things, be in the know kind of. And so, and then it likes to share what it's gathered.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm hearing like a sense of how us showing up too, because there's this, how do we want to show up in this time?
Well, we're also in that midsummer time, and in the Celtic traditions, this is the time of the early harvest, the beginning of like gathering corn or whatever fruits and vegetables, are amenable, are available at this time, beginnings of zucchini season,
For
you know.
sure.
Yes. Um, and so there is that sense of abundance, and there is that sense of nurturing, and
Hmm.
there is that sense, especially with Leo. I mean, Leo is the king or the queen, and she has a certain bearing and a certain sense of almost like collective responsibility, as long as she remembers her humility,
Hmm. That sounds
because
really important for this time we're in collectively, Jyoti.
it is. It is. It's really about looking at where you have skills that will help others, where you can step in and say, "Okay, I'll take this piece of the pie." And what's interesting to me is that the sun and moon are trining the north node in Aries, 4 degree difference, but it's showing us this north node in Aries. I mean, we have this north node in Aries for a while longer, and then it's going to move into Pisces, and so that's a whole different time frame, couple year time frame. But right now it's still in Aries, and it's about risk taking. It's about trying new things. It's about dangling your toes off the edge of the cliff to see what lives there. And so this new moon is like giving opportunities for that, to really look at that, to see how that fits in your life.
Hmm.
What it's time for suddenly.
I love this idea though of looking at our skills and how we can offer them, and maybe we're offering them in a new way. And I think about that in this backdrop of very polarized times that are so easy to get caught up in, but what this is offering is a different way, right? Don't
Yeah.
get stuck in a camp. Get out and use your service and your skills.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be even a global kind of thing or even a community thing. It can just be, in your family or with a neighbor, or something where you have something perhaps that somebody else could use,
Uh,
whether it's insight, whether it's a skill. But that new moon in Leo, I mean, we have a new moon in Leo all the time. And so it's just looking at um, what is it at this time of year that you have to offer into the collective energy
Mhm.
at the same time that Mercury is turning retrograde that evening at 10:56 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And so you have this kind of energy of new moon, new cycle, and what do you have to give, in a sense, with Mercury beginning its retrograde cycle of 3 weeks of turning inward. Mercury is in Virgo as it turns inward, and it will retrograde back into Leo, which I'll talk about in a minute. So it's that discernment, that discrimination in a positive way, what works, what doesn't work. What do I have to offer that's more pertinent in this moment than just my general skill level, so it's more finely honing.
Hmm. Jyoti, in some ways that can feel like opposing energies, but I have a sense there's a way to view them as complementary.
Well, it's insight, it's that draw in with Mercury turning retrograde. So it's a 3 week time of looking within and becoming comfortable, over the years, 3 times a year, 3 weeks at a time, Mercury goes retrograde. And so it's saying, how can I use this time? How can I be more specific with Mercury and Virgo? So yes, I have things to offer, but what of those things that I have to offer, um, do I really want to be involved in? Can I really enjoy in that generosity and that sharing? Not just, oh, well, I make a great cherry pie. It
Mhm.
might be having a listening ear, you
Mhm.
know, to what somebody else might be, contemplating or experiencing.
Yeah, I'm still kind of wrestling with this kind of inward of the Mercury in retrograde. Yeah, Leo is a very outward energy, right? So
Yes.
can you imagine it's kind of in and out and in and out? There's like a flow to it.
Okay, yes, and there's also a balance. To
Uh,
me, there's a balance so that you don't get too far away from yourself with all that Leo fun,
sure.
social life, friends, there's still that balance point. Mercury's retrograde, it's kind of tethering you to yourself so that you don't get too far away from yourself, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
On a personal level, I remember when I was beginning to be more public and offer workshops and being out there a little bit more than I had been for years. And yet I felt this inward pull at the same time. And I thought, I wonder what that's all about. And I looked, and my progressed Mercury had just turned retrograde. And I thought, great, what a great balance. I won't get too far away from myself by going out and doing these things in the world. I have this tether to myself. I have this inward looking at the same time so that I can balance my relationship with the world with my relationship with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We
I feel like this is exactly what's being offered here collectively.
yeah. Yeah, we see that so often with folks, particularly as their communities get large, that they lose their tethering to who they are and their authentic self. And so this might be a good opportunity for anyone concerned with losing themselves as they go public to take that leap.
Yes, yes, absolutely, because they have this uh, almost like protective quality going on while they're stepping out, while they're stepping into new arenas, because the universe is inviting us. It's not just this new moon, it's just these times. The universe is inviting us to step out, to bring our gifts to the world. They're so needed at this time. I mean, in this chart, Mars is trining Pluto. finally, Mars is trining Pluto instead of opposing or squaring or whatever. And so there's this real sense of everybody has what they need.
Oh,
Everybody has what they need to move forward. And it's a very dynamic energy.
that's a message that needs to get out there because I don't think we're operating with that mindset.
Well, it's just moving in. It's
Okay.
just moving in, like yesterday, or today in lieu of this chart on Sunday, actually. It's just starting to move into orb. And so and it's wide. It'll get closer. Actually, it's moving away. My mistake. It's actually moving away. So we've had a week of it, and it's still there on the new moon. But after probably several days after the new moon, Mars will move on and
Okay.
not be trining Pluto. But we've had some intense times over the past couple weeks, and with Mars trining Pluto, it's kind of like saying, here's the core of what you're made of.
Cool.
You're not a shrinking violet. You can step up, you can take responsibility, you can say yes to things that maybe you've never said yes to before. And it works. I mean, we all stumble. We all, things aren't perfect. This isn't the plane of perfection. And I mean, you just look around and you can see that. But this is this is empowering, this is strengthening, and the fact that it shows up in this uh, new moon, it's giving us an opportunity to carry our strengths forward in this next moon cycle. So it's not just Sunday, it's for the next several weeks at least.
Mm. And for those wanting to set an intention this Sunday, any special ideas of rituals that you could offer up?
Well, Leo likes yellow and orange and gold. So if you wanted to create a small altar, let's say, you could use those colors, especially with altar cloths or zinnia flowers or, things like that, very vibrant and bright and on the red yellow spectrum. And it would be more about your personal intention of where you where you own it, whatever it is. Whether it's owning your own power, whether I mean, Leo is the king and queen. It's royalty. It's your own sovereignty. It's your own royalty. How you step into yourself and be committed to yourself in not in a self-centered or selfish sense, but in a sense of this is who I really am on all levels. This is who I really am, not just the roles I play and whatever you want to call all of this, without getting too esoteric here. But how do you own your own power? How the right use of power is to own it and then share it with those who are ready to step into their own, and so nobody ever benefits by remaining small.
Mm.
And we're all part of the same whole. And so the more people that step into their own sovereignty and their own sense of wholeness and their own sense of self-love, um, it raises the vibration for all of us. And one thing I wanted to mention in this chart also is that the nodes form a T-cross to Ceres, and Ceres is the asteroid of nurturing. And Ceres in this chart is in Capricorn, and so the nodes are at 8 Aries Libra, squaring Ceres at 8 Capricorn. So it's an exact aspect. So it's really pushing all of us. You could say the lesson in this map, in this chart. It's really pushing all of us to look at how do we love ourselves enough to nurture ourselves. Self-love is such a deep issue in humanity. How can we love ourselves enough to nurture ourselves, to do things for ourselves that really feed us and juice us up and get us ready to jump out of bed in the morning? Another day to do something not only good for ourselves, but that nurturing bleeds out into every other part of our life.
Yeah. Yeah. It in an interesting way, it's the most generous thing we can do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's the one thing that a lot of times escapes us.
Sure. Sure.
Because when we start talking about self nurturing, then it brings up issues of self worth, and it brings up our wounds, and it brings up maybe some of the things we're working on. It might bring up, memories and pain and fear, because there's also that energy around, well, if I am who I am, and if I stand in that and I take the power of that, who will I be?
Yeah.
What will happen? It's like that fear of failure versus fear of success, and so I would say start small, eat something you really like that's healthy, um, or get a massage, or uh, do a foot massage on yourself. Just take some time, read a couple chapters in a book, listen to some music, go visit a friend you haven't seen in a while, schedule a lunch with somebody. Do something, or it can be just solitary. Go take a walk through a beautiful garden and just sit down with the flowers and just breathe in nature. I mean, you are nature, but just consciously breathe in that beauty,
Mhm.
you know? So, aside from this, I wanted to mention also that on the 7th, August 7th, Venus and Mercury are together. They're at the same degree in Virgo. And it's a day of refinement. It's a day of like mental refinement, like the difference between rock and roll and classical music, let's say, or, it's just two aspects of the same whole, but it brings a certain level of creativity and a desire to outpicture that creativity with words, drawings, dance. It's a day of high creativity.
Beautiful.
And then Mercury, I just wanted to mention that between August 18th and September 9th, in Mercury's cycle, it'll go direct in the middle of that, but from August 18th through September 9th, Mercury will retrograde back into Leo. So it starts its retrograde motion in Virgo, and then it retrogrades back into Leo around the 18th of August until the September 9th time when it re-enters Virgo. So, this Mercury retrograde cycle is a mix. It's a mix with Virgo and Leo. It's a mix between discernment and coming to some things, analyzing some things, seeing things in a deeper way, and then also working to integrate what it is you need to have ready for when Mercury goes direct and re-enters Virgo on September 9th. So there might be a gathering of tools. There might be a gathering of knowledge. There might be something presented to you for you to look deeper into that fits for your personal situation.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful place to end this, Jyoti, because you started by sharing about the new moon and that, what is it what are your gifts and tools you have to serve others? And then we get this dose of refinement, and then the tools, right? Gathering the tools that we have. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is in a way a full cycle,
Yeah.
a coming back and reintegrating.
Right, because so often there are tools just right within our reach, but we're not seeing them.
No, no, and we're not seeing them as tools. We're maybe seeing them as possibility in the future or something I'm curious about. But yeah,
Yeah, lovely. Anything else, Jyoti?
I think that's pretty much it.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you so much. And thanks to all of our listeners. And we'll be back again in a couple weeks.
Yes.